Subscribe to Bloody Monday and watch chilling horror stories almost every week. Don't forget to press the bell icon.
Valentine's Day, true horror story. Generally, people have fond memories when they think of love. But sometimes, there are such incidents in love that make people's blood run cold. Something similar happened with Chris and Amanda. This year, for Valentine's Day, they had planned a beautiful romantic getaway. On their way, they had to pass through a bridge in Vermont named Emily Bridge. It was nighttime, and Chris was driving the car. While driving, he suddenly saw a girl sitting on the road with her head down. Chris had seen her from a distance and stopped the car. But when he got out of the car, he didn't find anybody there. He thought he was hallucinating, so he got back in and asked Amanda, "Did you see that girl? I don't know where she went." Just then, a terrifying voice came,
"Who are you talking about?"
When Chris turned to his wife, he saw that there was another lady instead of her, and she looked terrifying. Her neck was twisted completely, and her hands and legs were crooked, as if the bones inside had broken. One side of her face was scratched, and she had a single eye. The girl asked Chris,
"Why didn't you come to meet me on that day? Who were you visiting that day? Which girl are you talking about?"
Chris was horrified seeing her. He got out of his car but slipped and fell down after hitting the car's door. The next day, he woke up in the hospital. He had a lot of scratches on his body. Amanda was sitting next to him, and Chris asked her what had happened last night. Amanda told him that he was behaving very strangely and doing weird things. The nurse in that room was watching Chris very carefully. She asked, "Were you guys crossing the Emily Bridge?" To which Amanda nodded yes. The nurse then told them that the bridge is haunted, and nobody goes there at night. It's believed that long back there was a girl named Emily who was madly in love with a boy, but her family didn't accept their relationship. So Emily told her lover that they'll commit suicide by jumping off the bridge and immortalize their love forever. But when Emily reached the bridge, her lover wasn't there. She waited for him for hours, but he didn't turn up. Dejected, she jumped off that bridge alone and committed suicide. Despite days of search, nobody found her dead body. It is said that her body is still drowned somewhere in that river. From that day onwards, she meets every man passing by at night and asks him a question.
"Who are you going to meet? Why didn't you come to meet me?"
Chris and Amanda were really scared after listening to this story. The nurse asked Amanda to let Chris rest for a while. Chris lovingly told Amanda that once he recovers completely, they'll again celebrate Valentine's Day. Amanda smiled and left the room. Just then, Chris noticed the ceiling fan where he saw Emily's spirit. She asked Chris in her daunting voice,
"Who are you going to meet? Why didn't you come to meet me?"
Lockdown Horror Story. This story is about a thief named Alan who used to rob houses along with his two partners. Alan had been eyeing one particular house for a few days. Nobody ever visited that house except for a caretaker. One night, he saw the caretaker leave the house with a packed suitcase. The caretaker seemed a bit scared. It seemed as if he was stressed about something and was leaving the house in a haste. Alan had a perfect opportunity to rob the house, but his partners were far away from the city that night. He didn't want to miss this golden opportunity,
So he broke inside the house all by himself. The entire place was dark. He lost the network of his phone the moment he entered the house. When Alan went further inside, he found everything was scattered around. Moreover, there was a very strange smell in that house, as if something had been rotting for years. Alan wasn't able to stand that smell. He quickly started filling his bag with whatever valuables he could see. And that's when a gust of wind pushed open the bedroom door of the house. Alan could hear some people from inside the bedroom. He got scared for a moment, but when he entered the room, there was nobody there. The sound was actually coming from the TV. He thought that the caretaker would have left it on by mistake. Alan started searching the bedroom. He found a locker in the cupboard. He broke it and started taking out all the money and jewelry inside it. While he was taking the money, he heard someone's footsteps coming up the stairs. This time, Alan got horrified. He quickly closed the cupboard and hid under the bed. And soon, the sound of the footsteps stopped, but the strange smell got even stronger. Alan was looking from under the bed, and no one had entered the room. He gathered courage and came out, but as soon as he came out from under the bed, he was shocked. What he saw made him scream out of fear and ran out of the room. In that room, just above the bed under which Alan was hiding, the body of a woman hung from the fan. He left his bag and ran straight towards the main door, but the door was jammed. In fact, none of the other doors in the house would even open. Alan was terrified. He again heard the sound of approaching footsteps. He tried hard to get out of the house, but neither the window would break nor any door would open. He was stuck in this house with that dead body. He could not understand what to do. When Alan looked at the stairs, he saw a shadow slowly coming towards him. And seeing that shadow, he started running from it. And while running, his body slammed against a door. The door opened, and Alan, scared of that shadow, went straight inside that door. It was the door to the basement, but was very dark, and Alan couldn't see anything. Suddenly, someone started banging that door. Alan's foot slipped in panic, and he fell straight down the stairs and reached the basement of the house. Alan still wasn't able to see anything. He frantically moved his hands and legs here and there, and luckily he found a candle and matchsticks right next to it. And just when he lit the candle, he saw that there was a woman standing right in front of him. It was the same dead body he saw in the bedroom. And the woman blew out the candle, and the room went dark again. Just then, Alan fainted. 2 days later, his partners came searching for him. They found him unconscious in the basement. Alan's head was severely injured, and there were scratch marks all over his body, and was admitted to a hospital. Later, he came to know that there lived a woman or man in the house who had committed suicide by hanging herself from that ceiling fan. Alan then understood that the night he actually did encounter that dead woman's spirit.
Haunted Ship Story. The bigger the sea, the scarier it is. And in the depth of the vast sea are even deeper and darker mysteries that not everyone is aware of. One such mystery is Seabird. One day, a ship came by and stood on the Easter Beach at Australia's Newport Harbor. The ship's name was Seabird. When the ship came at the seashore, it was completely deserted. There was not a single person on it, but a lot of people had sometimes sighted a little girl around that ship. A lot of stories became popular about Seabird. Some said there was a girl on the ship who had gone crazy. She went to each room in the night and killed every single person on the ship. Now, whatever the stories say, one thing was assured, that Seabird was haunted, and it was very dangerous to go there. A Marine officer named Donald was given the duty to investigate the ship. His job was to find out three things. Where was the ship sailing to, and with what purpose? And what happened on it that led to the ship being left deserted on the Easter Beach? He went on the ship with a few instruments and a camera. As he entered the ship, he saw a lot of pieces of glass scattered around everywhere. A lot of instruments used on ships were also lying around. The ship was a complete ruin. He was recording everything on his camera when suddenly he heard the sound of glass breaking from behind. He quickly turned, but didn't find anyone there. He turned back, but as soon as he did, he saw a weird-looking girl standing in front of him. Her face was pierced with glass pieces at different places, and her entire face was covered in blood. She screamed at him from her humongous mouth that sent Donald flying in the air on the other side of the ship. Donald decided that it was best to run away from the ship. He ran towards the door, but all the exits of the ship were blocked. And when he turned, that woman was again standing behind him with her mouth open. She hit him with one hand, and Donald once again fell on one corner. There were a few barrels of petrol in the corner where Donald fell. He bumped into the barrels, and the petrol barrels started to spill. Donald found a videotape lying on the floor. He quickly put the tape in his bag and tried figuring out a way to escape. But the girl once again stood in front of him. Donald took out a lighter from his bag and carried a barrel of petrol and started to spill it over the entire ship. He saw that the girl was standing still as she kept staring at him. He quickly lit the lighter and tossed it on the girl. The girl started to burn, and with her, the entire ship caught fire. Some petrol had spilled over Donald's clothes, and even his clothes caught fire. But somehow, he managed to break the window and jump into the water. He took a sigh of relief. But when he looked towards the Seabird, he was left stunned. The fire that he had started in the ship had gone out on its own. The girl stood by the broken window and kept staring at him. Donald didn't wait another moment and ran away from there. He quickly went back to his home. The only thing he got from his visit to the ship was that tape. There were so many unanswered questions about Seabird that occupied his mind. He played the tape in the hope of finding some answers, but what he saw on the tape was something that he would have never imagined in his life. The video started with a party on that very ship. It appeared as if a family was happily celebrating someone's birthday, and someone was recording all of it in his camera. A huge cake was placed on a table, and all the people were sitting around it and were having their food with knives and forks. But suddenly, something happened to them, and all of them stabbed themselves in their faces with the knives and forks and killed themselves. The camera fell on the floor, but the recording was still on. Everyone died, except two people, a man who seemed to be in his early 40s and a young girl. The girl resembled that evil spirit that Donald had encountered on his visit to the seabird. The man pulled the girl by her hair and tied her to the table. He broke a few bottles of champagne on the table and set it on fire. It looked like he was completing some sort of ritual. Then he took a broken piece of glass from the champagne's bottle and slit the girl's wrist. He took a few drops of her blood and put it in the fire. The moment he put blood in the fire grew bigger. It was now so bad that even the man looked scared, and he untied the girl. The girl fell on the floor, on the shattered pieces of glass. The glass pieces pierced her body, and she soon died. That man looked really frightened. It seemed as if he was trying to complete a ritual for which he needed the girl's blood, but the consequence turned out to be something that he had never expected. Suddenly, a black spirit started to come out of the man's body. The spirit left his body, and with its escape, the man's body slowly went cold. In some time, the man's body went lifeless and fell on the ground. Soon, the fire went out, but the entire ship had burned down. The girl who lay there suddenly got up at once. She had turned into the same witch that Donald saw on the ship. The girl looked into the camera, and that's when the tape stopped playing. After this, Donald researched about the passengers on Seabird. He finally found something about that girl. Her name was Rosetta, and her recorded age was 18 years. He then started asking people about the folklores of black magic in the sea, so that he could understand more about that ritual. He came to know that in ancient times, in order to please the sea god, the pirates used to sacrifice a minor girl. They did this in the hope of bringing back their friends to life. But this was a very risky procedure. If anything went wrong, the sea god would engulf the entire sea. And probably this is what happened that night on the ship, because the girl had turned 18 and was no longer a minor. Her blood enraged the sea god, and he ruined the entire ship. But the girl's soul was trapped and stranded on that ship forever. And maybe she was still waiting to take her revenge. When Donald tried to watch the tape again, it didn't play. And just then, Donald saw a reflection of the girl's face on his TV. It seemed as if she stood right behind him. When he turned around, he didn't find anyone. He got so scared that he burned the tape and disposed of it out of his house. He took a few days off from his job. Soon, everything turned normal in his life. But one day, he found the same tape kept beside his TV. Guys, if you liked this story, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Bloody Monday, and press the bell icon.
This story took place 4 years ago, and it still haunts me to this day. It was Christmas night, and my family were driving home from this fancy restaurant. I, unlike my family, wasn't tired, so the 45-minute drive seemed perpetual.
On top of that, my little sister was constantly moaning about how her friend didn't get her anything for Christmas. After about 20 minutes of driving, my dad stopped at a gas station to get some cigarettes, and my sister, brother, and mother all got out to pee. I stayed in the car as I had already gone before we left. Once they all left, I decided to play a few games on my phone. I looked at the car clock and saw that 10 minutes had passed, so I immediately wondered what was taking them so long. As soon as I peered out the car window, I saw a man staring at our car. The man startled me as I didn't know how long he had been watching. What made it even more unnerving is that he had a plain, blank face. No expression was shown. It was hard to make out any features as it was pretty dark, and he wasn't standing in an illuminated part of the station. He was about 5'9" and looked to be middle-aged. Once he saw me notice him, he started walking towards the car, and I'd be lying to tell you if I wasn't scared. Luckily, my dad came back with the rest of the family, just as the man took a couple of steps. My dad apologized and told me he had been in an argument with a cashier. I didn't care. I was just glad that my dad was with me. I took another glance at the man outside, and he was still staring, but this time, he had an annoyed look on his face. We drove off, and for the rest of the car ride, I couldn't stop thinking about that man. This wouldn't have been too bad if it had just ended there, but it didn't. Later that night, I was watching YouTube while everyone else was asleep. I put my phone down and just enjoyed the ambiance. That didn't last for long, as I heard something smash into the window behind me. It was the same man that I saw at the gas station. Only this time, when our eyes met, he grinned. Out of fear, I screamed at the top of my lungs. My dad came running down the stairs and entered my room. "Why the hell are you screaming?" he asked. I told him about the man, and I explained everything that had happened. My dad called the police. After 10 minutes, the police turned up outside our house and found the man in our shed. He got arrested, and that was the last time I saw him. The next day, my dad inspected the house, and we found the handle of our back door had been damaged, but not completely broken. This gives me an eerie feeling, as if he actually managed to get in, he could have harmed us or possibly killed us.
Sabrina Doll Horror Story. England, a country known for its beauty and elegance. But hidden behind the beauty of this country lies a deep, dark secret that many people are unaware of. In England's city of Yorkshire lived Dave Waltham, along with his wife Sophia and his 9-year-old niece, Lucy. After the death of Lucy's parents, Dave and Sophia had taken her in. They loved her a lot, but Lucy didn't have a lot of friends, and having lost her parents at such a young age, she was sad most of the time. To make her happy, Dave and Sophia gifted Lucy a doll named Sabrina on her birthday. She did like Sabrina a lot, but it could never replace her parents. Lucy's friend, Donald, who had come to the birthday party, knew the reason behind her sadness and had got her a Ouija board as a present. He told her that with the help of the board, she could call her parents. After the party, Lucy locked herself in her room and tried calling her parents through that Ouija board. But all her efforts went in vain, and nothing happened. But after a while, she felt as if someone was calling out her name. When she turned, she found her mother standing behind her. Little Lucy was elated. She introduced her mother to the Sabrina doll and started talking to her. She then heard her Uncle Dave walking towards her room and quickly asked her mother to leave and told her to come back tomorrow to meet her. Next night, Lucy had again set up the Ouija board. After a while, she felt her mother's presence. She moved her hand from the Ouija board and started looking for her. That's when she felt someone had grabbed her legs and was pulling her down. Lucy screamed out of fear while something from beneath was dragging her down from under the bed. Lucy saw it was her mother, but her face soon turned into a devil's face. Lucy shut her eyes out of fear and started screaming loudly. The moment she opened her eyes again, she found no one. It was the doll Sabrina lying under the bed. Her uncle and aunt came rushing to the room after listening to her scream. They saw the Ouija board in the room. Dave was really shocked seeing this, and before Lucy could properly close the board, he picked up the board and threw it outside. Dave started shivering as if all of this reminded him of something from the past. He quickly called a friend of his who was a paranormal expert. He was on a call with his friend when something knocked on the window. Dave, Sophia, and Lucy saw that it was the Ouija board that was trying to come back into the room on its own. After that, what happened left the three of them completely speechless. Sabrina reached near the window on its own, and the Ouija board fell down. Sabrina turned its head towards Dave and started laughing. Sabrina started moving towards Lucy. Sophia and Dave picked up Lucy and ran out of the room and came downstairs. They weren't able to understand what was happening with them. They saw Sabrina had flipped itself and was slowly crawling downstairs. They went and hid in a corner in the kitchen. Sabrina came looking after them. When Sabrina reached the kitchen, she picked up a knife and started searching for them. That's when Dave's paranormal expert friend arrived. He chanted something, and the doll suddenly stopped and dropped on the floor. Dave cautiously moved towards the doll, but suddenly Lucy screamed. Sophia grabbed Lucy by her throat. The devil had come out of Sabrina and possessed Sophia. The exorcist ran to save Lucy, but Sophia pushed him very hard. Sophia's face slowly turned blue as if the devil was taking its original form. The devil held Lucy by her throat while looking at Dave and laughing hysterically. The demonic laughter echoed in the entire house. Dave was so petrified that he started crying and literally begged the devil to leave Lucy and Sophia. The paranormal expert then got up and rubbed some powder on Sophia's forehead. Sophia fell down instantly. The man performed some ritual and took that doll away from the house. The next morning, when Sophia regained consciousness, Dave told her about the entire incident. Things were normal for a few days, but soon Dave started having fits. He could see the Sabrina doll laughing at him at every corner of the house. Dave had completely gone mad, and one day he hanged himself and died by suicide. He left a suicide note where he mentioned that he was the one who got Lucy's parents killed so that he could acquire all their property. Sophia understood that the spirit had come back and possessed the doll to take revenge. After this incident, Sophia took Lucy with her and moved to London with her aunt. If you liked the story, subscribe now to Bloody Monday Horror Stories for chilling horror stories every week.
It was the 4th of July. This happened to me when I was 16 years old. It was a Thursday night, and my family and I were going to the golf course that was open to the public to see fireworks. It was a very famous and well-known spot for people to have a nice night to enjoy their 4th of July evening. We got there around 8 o'clock, and the fireworks would be starting at 9 o'clock, which meant that us kids had about an hour or so to do whatever we wanted. By now, there were at least 3,000 people here with blankets, food, chairs, and there were a lot of kids running around with glow sticks. We immediately knew that we were going to wander off, but we also knew we had to stay close by. My mom said that my sister and I could go off on our own if we wanted to, but we needed to be back 10 minutes before the show. My sister was 9 at the time, which meant that I'd be watching her all the time, no matter what we were doing. We ended up going far enough to the point where we couldn't see the people anymore, and I was pretty sure we were now somewhere that either wasn't part of the event or some private property. However, that's when both of us noticed a small trail through the tree line. Considering this was near a national park, we still had about another 30 minutes before we had to go back and figured a walk through the trail would be nice. It was getting darker. We got into the trail with flashlights on our phone. We were babbling about random stuff. I gave my sister the 10-minute warning. That's when she pointed at something slowly creeping along the tree. We started walking back to the event venue, but something followed us as we could clearly hear footsteps approaching us. We didn't look back, but my sister stopped suddenly. She felt as if someone grabbed her leg. When I turned behind, what I saw shook me to my core. I could see no one, but just a hand grabbing the ankle of my little sister. When I pointed my mobile phone flashlight in that direction, I saw pieces of a girl's body moving and slowly crawling towards us. The girl's face was hanging off the tree, which scared the shit out of me. I told my sister that it was time to go, grabbed her hand, and ran out of the trail as fast as we could. The fireworks had already started. We got back to my parents, but didn't say a word to them. The next day, I explained to my parents what I'd seen, and my dad called the police and reported the time and location as to what I saw. A week later, the police told my mom that a man thought his girlfriend had been cheating on him and murdered her in the house while she had been asleep. He cut her into pieces and left it in the forest area. My mother revealed this to me years later, and I couldn't say a word. That girl's face, which I saw that night, still haunts me sometimes. Come play Halloween. Halloween is the most popular festival among kids, and the way it is celebrated makes it even more special. But no one knew that the Halloween of 2016 would turn out to be a nightmare for a 12-year-old boy named Adam. Adam was an extraordinary child. He wrote, sang, and was a class topper too. But despite being so talented, he didn't have any friends. He was a bit awkward at making conversations, and the other kids at school used to tease him and call him a weirdo. Even on Halloween Eve, Adam didn't have anyone to accompany him for the trick-or-treat custom, where the kids went knocking at doors for candies. When he left his home, he found a few of his classmates outside who started bullying Adam. Adam started to cry and ran away. Adam ran and reached some unknown street. He wiped off his tears and looked around. He saw an old house at some distance. He went there to ask for candies, but the house was locked up from the outside. He was about to return when he found a wooden box outside the house. When he opened the box, he found an iPad inside it. The moment Adam touched the iPad, the screen lit up. "Come play!" This text appeared on it. This made Adam really happy, and he took the iPad with him. After returning home, when his mom asked him about the iPad, he told her that he found it lying on the road and went to his room. Adam started playing with the iPad again, but this time, the screen did not read "Come play," but had a strange creature appear on it that confused Adam Now the name of the monster appeared on the screen. Larry. As Adam kept swiping, he found out more and more about Larry. Larry is very sweet, but others make fun of him because he looks different. Nobody gives him food, and nobody wants to be friends with him. Will you be his friend? Adam felt bad for Larry after reading this, but he was unaware of the dreadful creature he was about to encounter. Just then, the text on the screen read, "Larry lives behind windows and glass." That's when the lights in his room started flickering and all the street dogs started howling together. Adam didn't understand what was happening until his gaze went to the window, and his heart skipped a beat. The same creature from the game was standing on the window and kept staring at Adam. It started opening the window slowly at first. Seeing this, Adam was scared out of his wits and ran out of his room calling for his mom. As soon as he got to his mom's room, he saw that his mother's body was hanging by the mirror and her eyes were popping out. Seeing this, Adam started to black out. He then again heard a knock on the window. The same creature, Larry, was standing over there. When Larry came close to Adam and tried attacking him, Adam got so scared that he fainted. When Adam woke up, he was in the hospital. His father told him that there was a robbery at the house and the thieves killed his mother. Adam didn't believe his father. The creature's image, or rather the monster's image, was stuck in Adam's mind forever. After that incident, Adam searched for the iPad in the entire house, but couldn't find it. Since that day, Adam never saw the creature again. What do you think? Was there really a Larry? Or was it just a figment of Adam's imagination? Do tell us in the comments below, and do subscribe to our channel, Bloody Monday. The Sahara Desert. It is the largest hot desert in the world. Various kinds of venomous snakes are found in this desert. The kinds which have the deadliest sting, making it impossible for anyone to survive. It is said that there is a cave in the desert, which is full of diamonds and precious stones, but nobody has ever been able to collect that hidden treasure from the cave. Nobody who has gone there has returned alive. This story became popular when an explorer named David came to the Sahara Desert in search of that treasure. With the help of one of the locals, Salim, David discovered that cave. Both of them were about to enter the cave when they suddenly heard the voice of a girl from behind. She said that the cave was very dangerous, and it was home to many poisonous snakes. Salim couldn't make out what this girl was doing in that secluded desert all by herself. When he asked her about this, she told them she was a snake charmer. David offered her some money and asked her to accompany them in the cave. He wanted to find the treasure at any cost. Salim was hesitant to go inside, and therefore he waited outside the cave while David went inside with the snake charmer. David went further inside the cave and found something shining amidst the walls of that cave. When he went closer, he saw that it was a huge diamond. As David moved forward to take the diamond, a snake came out hissing towards David that scared the hell out of him. However, before the snake could harm him, the snake charmer played her tune and drove that snake away. David easily took that diamond and went further ahead. Salim, who was standing outside, saw that David had forgotten to take his camera inside. He also went inside the cave to give David his camera. The moment Salim walked inside, he could hear the loud hissing sound from snakes inside the cave. When he went further ahead, he found a mountain of diamonds, rubies, and gold jewelry. David and the snake charmer were also standing there, but a lot of snakes were slithering around the gold and gems. There in the corner were some skeletons and bones lying as well. But because of his greed, David could not see anything else but the treasure. He asked the snake charmer to get rid of all the snakes from there, but what happened next, he would have never imagined. The snake charmer's jaws suddenly started to grow bigger, and her face turned black, and slowly her entire body elongated into a gigantic and horrifying snake. It suddenly stung David, and all the snakes around gripped his entire body. They repeatedly started sucking the blood out of him. Seeing this, Salim dropped the camera that he was holding, and he quickly ran out of the cave. When he came out, he saw that snake charmer, or rather the shape-shifting serpent, standing in front of him. He went down on his knees and begged for his life. Fearfully, he sat on his camel and left that place. Since then, the people living in Sahara believe that a shape-shifting snake lived there to protect the cave and the snakes inside it, so that nobody kills them for their greed of treasure. What do you think? If you found your way to that cave, would you go in there to look for the treasure? Do let us know in the comments below.
So this one time my parents had left for work. My sister had gone to school and I, a 20-year-old female, was alone at home. My neighborhood is in a fairly secluded area, situated on top of a huge hill, so it's fairly rare to have anyone visit. I was lounging around, watching TV, when I heard the doorbell ring. I never really answered the door as, again, we never have anyone visiting in the first place, and my family obviously knows how to get in the house themselves. So I just ignored it, even when it rang a second time. By the third time, I was a little bit annoyed, and I tiptoed over to the front door. The front entrance of our house is essentially a big wooden door, surrounded by walls, so there isn't any way for us to sort of check who's on the outside, unless we go to our piano room and check out the window. This means, though, that there's also no way for anyone on the outside to know if we were there, unless we're stomping around in the house or something. So I stood behind the front door, waiting for the person to leave. I mean, no one has answered your third doorbell ring, right? Surely you'd leave. Suddenly, though, there was a heavy banging on the door which made me jump. And then I heard a deep man's voice speak from the other side of the door. "I know you're in there." My heart jumped and got caught in my throat, and for a second I'm just sort of looking around, trying to figure out how the man knew. After a long silence, I heard muffled chatter, then the sound of footsteps leaving. I didn't dare open the door in case they actually hadn't left, but afterwards I called my parents to check if anyone was meant to be visiting. And no, not that they knew of. I was a little bit surprised by the odd encounter, I'll admit, but eventually I just went back to watching TV and I just sort of soon forgot about it. 2 hours later, though, I hear the doorbell ring again. Feeling a sense of nervousness this time, I turned down the TV volume. This time, too, I got up slowly and I snuck over to the piano room where I could possibly sneak a peek and see who was there. So I knelt down and slowly raised my head over the sill to see who it was. And at the door was a woman, dressed in all black. Black high heels, a plain black dress which came down to mid-calf, and an unusually large brimmed black hat, which was bizarre considering it was summertime and really hot. She had long, dark brown hair, though her face was covered by the brim of her hat. The only thing that I could really see were her bright red lips pulled up in an eerily wide smile. Beside her was a tall, buff guy wearing a dark suit too. I don't really remember much of his features except that he was definitely a Caucasian man and had a very serious expression. But what disturbed me most, though, wasn't so much the intimidating guy, but the sight of the woman who stood there, literally unmoving, smiling at the front door, which was yet to be opened. And it felt like a good solid minute before she finally took a step back and without a word, began to walk down the driveway. The man followed her step. To this day, I'm not sure who she was or why they were there at the door in the first place, and whether they were the ones which had knocked at the door earlier, but needless to say, the deep voice calling, "I know you're in there," and the image of the woman in black was not one that I forgot quickly.
Did we scare you? Tell us in comments and share your spine-chilling story with us. BloodyMondayHorror@gmail.com. The Haunted Bungalow. In the 1980s, there was a complicated case in a court of England where it took the judge a long time to decide whether the criminal was a human or a ghost. The story is about a businessman named Victor and his wife Jenny. It had been a long time since Victor and Jenny were married, and they had recently moved to England. They bought an old bungalow. Before Victor and Jenny started living there, the family that had resided in the bungalow died under mysterious circumstances. People said that whoever lived in that bungalow never survived. One night, Victor and Jenny had a fight. Victor was mad at Jenny, so he went to the study and started reading a book. He found a very old book with the title, Talking to a Ghost. Victor started reading the book, and while he was reading, he felt someone was standing beside him and staring at him. Frightened, he looked around, but he couldn't find anyone. The book read that in ancient times, people used to burn pieces of glass and chant mantras to call a ghost. He was reading the book when suddenly he heard Jenny scream. He left the book and ran towards Jenny. He found Jenny holding a photograph in her hands. Jenny couldn't stop screaming. When Victor saw the photo, it was him, holding a cup of coffee in the photo. The photo was from 2 weeks ago. But he didn't understand what there was to scream about. Because Jenny wouldn't stop screaming, Victor gave her sleeping pills and put her down to bed. Victor was a little anxious after reading that book, and he started roaming around the bungalow. While he was roaming around, he came to the basement of the bungalow. It seemed as if the basement had burned down long back. When he reached the corner of the basement, he found a few pieces of burnt glass. Victor felt very uneasy and thought of leaving the basement. The moment he turned to go, he saw 5 dead bodies that were staring at him. The dead bodies were completely burnt. But suddenly all of them got up. The dead bodies shouted, "Run away!" Frightened, Victor asked, "What are you talking about?" That's when all the dead bodies went mum and just kept staring back at him. Victor once again inquired what they were talking about, but still, the dead bodies stood still. That's when Victor realized that the dead bodies weren't staring at him, but looking at someone standing behind him. Victor quickly turned behind and found a very terrifying being looking at him. The ghost was holding the same burnt piece of glass that Victor saw in the corner a while back. Victor at once ran away from the basement and went to his bedroom. When he entered the bedroom, he found Jenny sleepwalking and writing something on the wall. Victor told Jenny that they'll have to leave immediately, but Jenny went on writing something with a piece of glass. When Victor went near her, he saw that the photo frame, which Jenny had been looking at and all but gone crazy, was broken near the bed. Victor was now able to see something in that photo that probably made Jenny scream. In that photo, a spirit was choking Victor and Jenny was lying unconscious next to him. Victor got terrified, and he tried a lot to wake up Jenny, but she went on writing on the wall. She had written, "This is the house of the dead. Go away." Victor managed to pick her up in his arms and started running out of the bungalow. The moment he reached the stairs, he thought someone is strangling him by the neck. Jenny slipped out of Victor's hands and fell down the stairs. Victor, too, fainted. After a few hours, when Victor regained consciousness, he saw that Jenny's head was badly hurt. He took her to the hospital, but it was too late. Jenny was dead, and the police arrested Victor for Jenny's murder. Victor's lawyer told the entire story to the judge in the courtroom. He told that the family that lived in the bungalow before Victor and Jenny had also died under mysterious circumstances. But when the police investigated, they neither found the piece of glass in the basement, nor did they find anything written on the wall of the bedroom. Even that photo was placed properly on their dressing table. The only thing they found was the book which Victor was reading. When the judge heard all this, he came to the conclusion that it was all a made-up story by Victor. The judge declared Victor guilty, and in a few days, his death sentence was executed. What people said proved to be true. No one who lived in that bungalow ever survived. What do you think? Did Victor really kill his wife? Or was it a ghost all along?
If you like this story, then subscribe to our channel, Bloody Monday Horror Stories, for some spine-chilling horror stories. And don't forget to press the bell icon for notifications on our latest video.
One day, a couple named Ashton and Aisha went to their new farmhouse for a holiday. They had bought it 2 months ago from a broker named Paul. They decided to spend some quality time in their new farmhouse, as it was situated at a really beautiful location. There was a garden, and the house was very spacious. There was a garden behind the house as well, but it seemed as if only recently the garden was dug in different places. Aisha unloaded the luggage from the car and was taking it inside the house, but her heel got stuck in the wooden flooring of the hall. When she looked down, she saw that the flooring was covered with a mat. Ashton removed the mat and found a way to the basement below. He was surprised to see this, as Paul had never mentioned to him about any basement. But now that they had found the door to the basement, they decided to check it out first. Both of them went down to the basement. They saw a bookshelf on a cupboard. Aisha was very fond of books and got really excited on seeing this. Just then, one of the books from the shelf fell on the floor. Aisha picked up the book. The book's title read, "The Ghostly Constitution." Aisha thought it to be some fictional novel and started reading it immediately. And probably this was the biggest mistake of her life. She opened the book and read the first line of it. "The person reading this book will become a slave to all the rules of this book. The rules are equally applicable to the people of this world and to the people of all the other alternate worlds." When Ashton saw her reading the book, he thought it was a book of stories and went upstairs to finish the remaining work in the house. It was evening already, and Aisha was still there in the basement. Ashton went downstairs to the basement to call Aisha, but what he saw there left his eyes wide open. The book Aisha was reading radiated a strange light, and a few dark shadows came out of the book. Her eyes had turned red, and she laughed hysterically while reading the book. Ashton was left stunned at this sight, and he quickly snatched the book away from Aisha's hand and threw it away. The moment he took the book away, All the shadows that were coming out of the book went straight inside Aisha. Her skin turned completely dark, and she grabbed Aston by his throat. She shouted at him with a freakish voice, "You shouldn't have stopped me. Now, according to the rules of the book, I'll have to live trapped in this book forever. You shall pay the price for it." She instantly twisted his neck, and Aston died on the spot. She crawled on the floor towards the book and opened it. But the moment she flipped it, her hand got stuck to a page. It looked like the book slowly engulfed her hand. Soon, her entire body was swallowed by the book, and then the book closed on its own. The next day, Paul, the broker, came to the basement. He picked up the book and placed it back on the bookshelf. He took Aston's body and took it to the garden behind the house. He then dug a grave and dumped his body in it. Paul once again placed a house for sale board in front of the farmhouse and left. On the morning of January 1st, 2003, such a terrifying incident occurred with Ron and his friends that they remember it till this date. At that time, Ron was working for an IT firm. The year 2002 was about to end, and he and two friends planned to go to a beach for the new year. On the night of the 31st, they came to a resort situated by a beach. The New Year's party was already going on inside. They had bribed a resort staff and arranged some extra drinks for themselves as well. After partying hard at the resort, they went to the beach to sit by the sea. One of the resort's waiters told them that the beach was haunted and evil spirits wandered there at night and urged them not to go. But the three of them ignored what the waiter said and went ahead. They were sitting at the beach, enjoying the night with a glass of drink in hand. The beach was totally deserted, and there was not a single person apart from the three of them. But after some time, Ron's friend, Joseph, saw someone standing in the distance who was slowly coming closer to them. Its face was blurred, and it seemed as if it was just a projection of something. When Joseph told both his friends about that someone, they didn't see anything, and instead started making fun of him. Ron told them that he was already high and he should not be drinking anymore. But Joseph was very sure there was something weird. He kept looking at it, when suddenly a woman came close to him and passed right through his body. Joseph felt very uneasy. He got dizzy and sat down. Ron gave him water, but Joseph's condition worsened. His body was burning, and he was shivering with cold. They decided to go back to the resort, but Joseph wasn't even in the state to walk. Ron asked his other friend Patrick to get water, medicines, and a jacket from the resort. The moment Patrick left, Ron himself heard someone crying. He saw that a woman was sitting on the seashore and was crying. He realized that it was not safe to spend any more time at that beach. Ron tried lifting Joseph, who was still shivering. The moment he pulled him, Joseph stopped shivering suddenly and pushed Ron back very hard. Joseph's eyes were abnormally red. Joseph looked at Ron in anger, which made Ron very nervous. By that time, Patrick reached there along with a couple of resort staff. Seeing them, Joseph screamed at everyone in anger. The resort staff quickly lit a fire torch and scared him, and eventually managed to tie him up. He screamed for some time more and then fell unconscious. Joseph was taken to a nearby hospital early in the morning, where they found out he had a high temperature of 107 degrees. He recovered after staying in the hospital for 2 days, but he doesn't remember a single thing of the incident that happened with him that night. But Ron and Patrick could never forget what happened that night.
Did we scare you? Tell us in comments and share your spine-chilling story with us. BloodyMondayHorror@gmail.com. And don't forget to press the subscribe button for awesome horror stories.